There are some strange mysteries that tend to lie beyond the limits of our understanding. The beginning of time, for example, the Elisa Lam case, and Jamie Carragher's laugh. But if you like to tap into the latest news around the gaming industry, few things feel more perplexing than the ongoing crisis development occurring at 343 Industries in Redmond, Washington. Halo Infinite has been on the radar since June 2018 and it is finally set to release at the end of this year. So given that it's been 2.5 years of pure thirst, there has been a few interesting things to note that have come out from behind the scenes that give us a good insight on how things are shaping up heading towards release. We'll just be recapping the biggest highlights over the last 3 years, and I'll also be doing a separate BS video where I want to give my 2 cents on some of the most popular discussions around Halo Infinite at this time of patience, so you look out for that in the future. Now, word on the street is that Halo Infinite has been in development shortly after the release of Halo 5. Now initially, you hear that and think, Jesus Christ, he was 5'5". The game must be huge! However, the term development is a little bit more complex than you think. Most likely those first few years were actually pre-production, so that's when you're doing all the prototyping, concepting, going back and forth and just trying to work out your direction for the game. Then of course you have to consider the new Slipspace engine that they've built for this game, so a lot of time would have been prioritized on that. We had Halo Wars 2 released in 2017, in addition to its post-launch content, the DLCs for Halo 5 and Master Chief Collection also. So my estimate would be that the game's been in full development since, say, mid-2017, and that's at best. I've only made that assumption based on the mood of everything else I'm about to say.
Gotcha, bitch! For fuck's sake!
Obviously, the biggest highlights within this development timeline have been the 3 main trailers. 2018 was just a simple teaser, just a few hints scattered around here and there. E3 2019 is actually the opening cutscene to the campaign, so that's where it will all start. And the gameplay demo, of course, from last year, which we'll get into in a sec. In terms of the PR and game direction that 343 and Microsoft have performed during development has been a mess. Of course, they've made a lot of promises like co-op split screen coming back, Master Chief is going to get most of the screen time, 120 FPS on the Xbox Series X, customization is going to be on par with Halo Reach. Now here's when things get a little bit spooky. 343 has also stated that Halo Infinite is a spiritual reboot. Now it's still a continuation of everything that has come before it. How much of that will be acknowledged in the story, we don't know yet. What is telling is that the gameplay demo from last year is pretty identical to the opening second mission from Combat Evolved, and of course the front covers are very similar as well. Which makes me add in the second direction factor, which is that Microsoft have said that Halo Infinite is going to get 10 years of post-launch support. For some perspective, that's longer than the average marriage in the United States that ends in a divorce. That is a lot of commitment. There has been assumptions that there's going to be story DLCs that release in the following years. Some have even speculated that they will be legit sequels as long as the regular campaigns. So imagine a campaign sequel like Halo 2 and 3 were, but they're all within the same game, releasing every 2, 3, 4 years. The concern I have in regards to the info that we've been fed so far is that the Day 1 campaign is shaping up to be a complete rehashed nostalgia trip. Crash onto a Halo ring, connect the dots on its background, and then something happens. Now that's not to say it won't be fun, but with that thought of getting a story we've already technically experienced does give me this somewhat empty feeling. But until more comes to light, we won't know.
He's coming! He's coming! Shut up! Ah! Run!
On the multiplayer side of things, it has been confirmed that the multiplayer will be free to play. Now my own theory is that it's not the entire multiplayer that will be free for everyone. I reckon they'll select a small portion. Basically like a beta, but the game's already out. But then things go off the rails again. The game is also going to be available on Xbox Game Pass on day 1 of its release. So you can spend $10 a month or $17 if you buy the Ultimate Edition and you can play it for as long as you want and then cancel your subscription at any time. So what does this mean for people who buy the full price, the $60, £60 version? Do they get any exclusive content? Maybe like a year one pass, given that the multiplayer is going to be free to play, you can expect them to do the typical seasons and battle passes we've seen everyone else do. So all of the new content that comes out within the first year is already owned by those who buy the full price edition, exclusive maps and multiplayer modes? I don't know, I only mention that because me myself, I like to buy physical copies. I like the collection aspect. Like, I like having a game library in my house. That's just a personal thing, but you know, that's not for everyone, but that's me. All of this, by the way, is very pro-consumer by Microsoft, but there's just something off about that. Like, just a few weeks ago, Microsoft intended to double the price of Xbox Live Gold in order to attract more people to the Game Pass Ultimate, but they backtracked on it due to the public outrage. So there's just an element of like, what in the sweet big old titties is going on?
Nice.
And for the people who are making the game, they have been getting a lot of layoffs and departing and arguing. The first one was in August 2019, where Tim Longo, I think that's how you say it, who was the creative director on Halo Infinite and Halo 5 in the past, he departed due to a quote-unquote leadership shakeup, which sounds like he was fired.
Nay, it was heresy.
So in comes Mary Olsen, not the one you think. She gets promoted to lead producer, and Chris Lee, the studio head, is also now taking the reins as creative director. 2 months later, shall we check in on how Mary's doing? And she's gone. She went off with Midwinter. Then, out of nowhere, Joseph Staton comes in to help. For those of you who might not quite understand the significance, imagine if George Lucas was brought in to help with the new Star Wars movies. That's what you're looking at right now. And you soon saw exactly that, because Chris Lee, guess what happened to him? Yeah, he left.
That's what I thought he said. The Prophet of Regret is planning to activate Halo.
Are you sure?
You wanted to overrun us and poison us and take our families and kill us? We'll die, not us!
Pretty much.
Commander, we've got a problem.
So despite all of that though, having someone like Joseph Staton as product lead heading into the last year of development has me feeling as good as I possibly can about Infinite's release. But given how game development is nowadays, I don't think there's very much input or influence he can have in such a short amount of time to possibly reshape this project into something more than we think. If I was to sum up how I'm feeling about Halo Infinite as of right now, on the recording of this day, 22nd of February 2021, it would be this one simple sentence. I've never felt so comfortable on edge.
Slice, motherfucker!